The following program was paid for by Real Estate Radio Network. The hosts are not an employee of WMTR or its parent company, Greater Media. The views and opinions expressed on the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio New Jersey are not necessarily those of the staff and management of WMTR. Station management has not investigated the claims made in financial service spots that may air during this program. As always, it is advisable to consult a professional before making a major financial decision. The opinions voiced in this program are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your attorney, accountant, financial advisor, or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities are offered in the U.S. through First Allied Securities, Inc., a registered broker, dealer member of FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services offered through First Allied Advisory Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. You're listening to The Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio New Jersey on 1250 AM WMTR. Now, your hosts, local credit experts Damon DiCrescenzo and attorney Jason Kaplan.
Welcome, New Jersey. This is The Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio Network. I'm Jason Kaplan. This is the most important hour of radio coming to you every Sunday morning on 1250 AM. I'm an attorney. I'm the owner of Credit Pros, along with my co-host Damon DiCrescenzo. Damon, say hello.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Hello, Jason. And for those of you who don't know, Real Estate Radio is a show that's dedicated to improving the knowledge about credit, about real estate, and letting you know the things that they don't want you to know. And who's they? The banks, the creditors, the people out there who want your money. And we're doing our best to try to make sure your money stays in your pocket. I want to remind you, if you ever have any real estate or credit questions, you could always call us on our off-air line. We want to personally assist you. Jason and myself are here to speak with you. Our number is 973-771-5118. That's 973-771-5118. Or you can always visit us on the web at creditrepair.to.
Yeah, and it's the beginning of the year, so this is the time when everyone needs to really watch out and start to take advantage of the knowledge out there and arrange their finances and their credit life perfectly. What'd you do for New Year's, though, Damon?
Very interesting what I did for New Year's. I was asleep by 11:15, which I thought was absolutely the best New Year's I've spent in a lot of years. I was in probably my sixth dream by the ball drop at 12 o'clock, and I enjoyed it very much. What did you do, Jason?
I was on vacation, actually. My girlfriend didn't want to be in New York City for the New Year's this year, so we went out to Montreal, Canada, and it was my first time out there, and that's a beautiful city, man. It's fantastic. It says a lot for urban planning. I mean, they have older, I wouldn't say colonial. What is like 1700 buildings?
French.
Just French boulevards with beautiful columns, and everyone there speaks French because I guess it was a former province. And there's something about women that speak French.
No, and there's something about women in Montreal in general. I've been there a few times. The women there, and my wife is probably listening, and no matter, this was before we were married, but the women in Montreal are the most beautiful, and the men, it's not my boat, but the people in Montreal are the most beautiful people that you can find. I find it a little bit disturbing that your girlfriend wanted to go to another city for New Year's when you live in the Mecca, New York City. You could have done nearly anything. Everything happens in the city, and instead you chose to leave the country.
Yeah, not only did I choose that, but 6 hours later in a car with traffic. But we stayed at a nice hotel. We went to a nice dinner. It was funny because even though we were in Montreal, they chose to show at the restaurant I was at for New Year's. They chose to show the ball drop. They actually showed Snooki drop.
Yeah.
the MTV, they apparently stuck her in a ball and they dropped her from the top of the MTV studio.
So we've been reduced to a joke in other countries. So New Jersey, welcome to the joke capital of the world. We now know what Montreal and the rest of the Canadians think about us.
Oh my God, absolutely.
So this week we have a great week. We're going to be talking about some important things, as we always do. We're going to go through some tips on how you can get debt-free. We're also going to be going through our credit true or false, which we love to do. And in studio, we have a personal friend of mine, Gary Capaldo, a certified financial planner. He is also a professor and a karate expert. And I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say So, before we get started, Jason, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of the different things that people can do to begin getting out of debt-free. So where do we find this information?
Well, there's a couple things that I'm kind of curious about because I charged up my cards this weekend. So tips provided by lowcards.com.
Well, thank you, lowcards.com.
Yeah, and it's going to be, they've got a couple tips here of how to attain the most elusive of your New Year's resolutions, which is basically reducing your personal debt in 2011. Why don't you start out, Damon?
Yeah, I'm curious as to what exactly was charged on those credit cards in Montreal, New Jersey, Jason. I think that maybe that's a whole nother conversation. But the first thing that they're listing, and I think that is the most important, is how much do you owe? We find that so many people out there, and especially when they're calling us, and if maybe they need bankruptcy advice or they need financial advice or the credit advice, when I ask them how much money do you owe, they say, I don't know, between $15,000 and $30,000.
It's a big window.
People should have a very good idea of how much they owe, because if you don't know how much you owe, then how can you possibly set about a path to paying it? Or even, and again, in the instances of bankruptcy, how can you know when bankruptcy is a viable option for you? You can't. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. The idea is to be able to make a proper tally of everything that you owe, not just your credit cards, because your credit cards speak to how much unsecured debt you're paying and how much high interest debt. Make no mistake, those student loans that you forgot that are deferred, that's money you owe. Make no mistake, the house that you continue to pay on or the car that you continue to pay on in perpetuity because you'll always have a new car, that's money that you owe. When you go get a new house or a mortgage, they tell you, well, we could take a look at how much your house payments are versus how much total debt you have, and we'll look at that ratio. It's bupkis. How much do you owe across the board? Are you paying for life insurance? How much are you paying? Because all of that money tallied is what you should think about, and what you can pay down, you can pay down, and what you can't, you can't. But the first step is understanding what you owe.
Yeah, a good tool also, Damon, is to probably pull a copy of your credit report. You can get a free one, like on creditkeeper.com, where they give free trial memberships, and you can then cancel after you pull it. But the idea is it's not the end-all, be-all, because obviously the only thing on a credit report is what they put on the report. So you could have bills like insurance bills and things that don't report, but at least it gives you an idea. And the balances they show will be somewhat in the right ballpark, as well as collections, as well as your open accounts. But they're not going to be exactly, so don't take that to the decimal and trust that that's what you owe. But it puts you in a good situation where you can at least start having an intelligent conversation about where your debt lies.
And I don't even think that having taking a look at a credit report is always the best way of figuring it out. And let me explain why. You take a look at your credit report, your phone bill's not on there unless you've defaulted, then they stick it on there. Your gas bill is not on there. Your car insurance isn't on there. So a lot of times a husband will say, here, wife, here's my credit report. I see we don't owe that much money, just to be able to hide the debt that they do owe because of the fact that it doesn't all report. It's a good idea to see it. You got to have the big picture.
Well, I'm not married, Damon. Is that your secret?
One of my secrets. It's no longer one of my secrets. Gary, you know how it is. We're all about secrets. Once you put the ring on your finger, it's all secrets.
Well, let me ask you a question then, Damon. Moving on from this, what bills do you pay first?
First of all, you have to pay your essentials first, right? And forget about what the advice is here that we've brought into the studio. You have to pay your essentials first. You got to put your food on your table. You have to make sure that the vehicle you're driving, you continue to pay because you go to work with it, that you continue to pay insurance, because if you get into an accident and get sued, that your life is over. You need to make sure you're putting a roof over your head.
Yeah, so secured debt over non-secured debt. If you default on a credit card, no one's going to come and no one's going to put you in jail. There's no debtor's prison. This isn't ancient medieval times where you owe someone money and they stick you in the Bastille and lock you up forever. So the idea is, if you're going to pay off things, you might as well pay off things that they can then take something away from you in the short term, like a car, like a house. I don't know if you rent furniture,
and you have to, and you need to pay. You need to be careful that most people have families. You need to make sure that you're putting food in your mouth, clothes on your back, and a roof over your head. And if I had X amount of dollars to spend, that's where my money goes first. Let's talk about where the money goes after that. For those of you who don't know, just to catch you up to speed, if you just started listening, you're listening to Real Estate Radio. This is the Credit Pros, and attorney Jason Kaplan, and I'm Damon DiCrescenzo. Give us a ring, 973-771-5118. That's 973-771-5118. But going back to what I was saying, if you're going to pay off some unsecured debt, how do you do it?
Well, the good idea from what I talked about before is get a copy of your credit report also, because every credit report has a list of who you owe money to, or at least who's listed on the report. But in that list is their name, their phone number, their addresses, because when you decide to start contacting them to negotiate your debt or talk to them about payment plans, hardship plans, that you're in trouble, you want to do a forbearance, and I'll explain all those terms in a second, you need to know who to call. And there's a ton of different options out there for individuals who want to pay off. Yeah, but who do you
pay? The question is, who do you pay? If you owe 5 creditors, a lot of people think, well, let me pay off the small one first and get it out of the way, get it out of my hair. I don't see the bill anymore. Not very smart. Make a list. Credit card 1, credit card 2, credit card 3. Right next to it, make a list of the interest rates, because the interest rates are going to determine which one you should be paying first. If you have a credit card with a 10% interest rate or a credit card with a 30% interest rate, which one do you pay first? The one with the 30% interest rate. Keep the money in your pocket. Why pay them? The credit card companies don't like you. You're a number to them. Don't give them more money than they're already stealing from you and taking out of your pockets. Taking out of my pockets, because I have credit cards. It chaps my butt to pay them. So I'm of the opinion that we pay the highest one first, get that out of the way, and then toil with the other ones.
Well, remember also last Christmas Day when you took that that sponsorship and they offered you a 12% or 0% loan for $10,000, only to be up to 30%. 6 months later that you're paying on. Also, interest rates vary in the middle in credit cards themselves. So you could have a couple debts on a credit card where 30,000 of it is 5%, another 10,000 of it is 15%, and then another 50,000 of it is going to be 25%. The laws changed last year. They created the federal government created the Card Act, which was the Card Act of 2008 is what it was called, but that was the law that changed the credit card industry. The rules used to be that if you made a lump sum payment to a credit card, they would put that towards your lowest interest rate first so that they could make more money and still have interest tacking on the higher interest rate. Now, the only legal way they're allowed to do it is to put the first money in towards the larger interest rate amounts. So you want to also realize how much money you owe and what the percentages are internally inside a credit card, not just credit card to credit card. That's confusing to me. So that must be confusing. It's confusing. They didn't make this so that people can understand it. I understand that they did it to try to help people, and that's good, But at the end of the day, you need to have a PhD to really get to the root of what's going on here with this stuff. To simplify it, pay off the stuff that they're charging you a lot of money for, and try to avoid fees. Because at the end of the day, those fees are probably higher than the payment that you are going to make. And that's how these companies make their money, through fees and interest. Why give them more money? Mm-hmm. Well, also talking about interest, that's another point that you want to take into consideration. Don't just pay your minimum payment. Because if you pay your minimum payment, it'll take you probably 10, 20 years.
That's another change in the Card Act, right? So they're showing us, if you make your minimum payment, it will take you 33.6 years to continually, to finally pay off this credit card. So now people, which again is a great thing that they've done to make people aware that you are signing your life away once you take out this credit card. It used to be, pay your minimum payment, right? And the minimum payment you'll continue to pay, and you say, why isn't my bill going down? But you didn't know that it's going to take longer to pay than your mortgage and your vehicle. Now at least you know.
And I'm not a mathematician, but I think, and you are more familiar with the mortgage business, so we can take this to homes, for example. If you were to pay double your payment, so if your minimum is $100, but you pay $200, doesn't it? I think you pay off the balance like in less than half the time.
Sure, because the payment that you're making, the majority of that payment in the mortgage business anyway, is interest. They want their money before it goes to principal, so it's called an amortization schedule. Your first payment is the bulk of it is interest. Your last payment, the bulk of it is principal. That's why they're in business. The banks that you're working with are not in business to lose money. They're in business to make money. And they've figured out, they have actuaries and a team of people that are much smarter than you or I, ways to be able to stick it to Joe Consumer. So at the end of the day, if you're not completely aware of it, and even forget about being aware, scared, be scared about these companies, be nervous, be suspicious of them because they're trying to stick it to you and stick you in the mud and let you stay there, then, the best way is being aware.
Because if you take this advice and you pay off all your debt and you pay less interest, you're going to have more money for your retirement.
That's right.
And that leads us into the break. But coming up, what are you going to do with that money that you have left over for retirement?
That's right. You're going to find out some really good information from Gary Capaldo, financial planner extraordinaire and karate expert. You're listening to the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio. This is Damon DiCrescenzo. Give us a call on our off-air number. We're here to speak with you. I'm happy to speak with you. My number is 973-771-5118, 973-771-5118, or visit us on the web at creditrepair.to. Stick around after the break. See you soon.
For all your credit problems, concerns, or questions, call the show's off-air number at 973-771-5118 and speak to the hosts of the show, Damon DiCrescenzo and attorney Jason Kaplan, directly. 973-771-5118. This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Hello, Jason Kaplan here, host of the Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio New Jersey. I'm thrilled that I get to speak to you every week and bring you the truth about your credit. A lot of stuff you hear in the news is just flat out wrong. If you want the inside knowledge about what's going on with your credit, that's what I'm here for. Give me a call at 973-771-5118. That's 973-771-5118. Whether you're looking to buy a home, get a job, apply for car insurance, your credit's the most important factor in these decisions. I can help you make an educated decision about what's going on and what's best for you and your family. It's easy. I give you the real facts and you decide what to do from there. Just give me a call. I'm here to help. 973-771-5118. That's 973-771-5118. Or visit us online at creditrepair.to. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back from the break soon.
The Credit Pros on Real Estate Radio New Jersey is hosted by local credit and finance experts Damon DiCrescenzo and attorney Jason Kaplan.